Hello guys, thanks for watching James Montreal Brewery. This is going to be episode 11 of season 4, and it's going to be my third and final pumpkin beer for this year. Essentially, autumn is wrapping up and winter's approaching, so there's not much else to say about this beer because the season's almost over. This is my first year trying these beers, and I've had 2 examples of the style, and both of them are really good. And today we're going to look at Great Lakes Pumpkin Ale. Great Lakes is the Great Lakes Brewery from Toronto, Ontario. It's a Canadian brewery, not the one in Cleveland, Ohio, which is still an exceptional brewery from what I've heard. So coincidentally, it's actually my third beer from this brewery, as well as my third pumpkin beer. It's a bomber, 650 mils, 22 ounces, and it's 5.5% ABV, which is, I think that must be the standard kind of typical ABV for sort of generic and different standard examples of the pumpkin ale style. Of course, you can get the imperial pumpkin ales like the Southern Tier Pumpkin, or even the one I tried, the Dogfish Pumpkin, with 7%, I think. So I'm going to go into the review. First, let's talk about the style and the brief history of pumpkin beers in general. Right, so I'm sure I'm not going to shock anyone by saying that pumpkin beer is essentially beer that's brewed with the addition of pumpkin. Now, it's really up to the brewer. Some brewers choose to add sliced up whole pumpkin. Some choose to add pumpkin mash, sort of the same substance you use in pumpkin pie. Some brewers even have flavouring instead of the actual pumpkin, and they still call it a pumpkin beer. All of the ones I had, so the St. Ambrose and the Dogfish Pumpkin, actually use a real pumpkin. Now, the style it's an American style essentially, but there's a bit of a controversy about the origins. Now, back in the early days of the American colonies, pumpkin was used to replace malts because getting food in these raw and very harsh conditions of the colonies was not an easy thing. So they had to replace it with local vegetables and things that are easier to produce and easier to grow then, rather than going with barley and malting the barley later. So, but then when the whole craft beer revolution started in the States a few decades ago, pumpkin beers are now actually brewed with both malt and the pumpkin. So now it's not a question of replacing a very key ingredient in the beer with something else. Small, but flavouring and experimenting with the style. Pumpkin ales are usually very spicy beers, and they're spiced with traditional pumpkin pie spices like cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, allspice, sometimes even ginger. It's really up to the brewer. I can probably predict that some brewers use more spices than others, and so on and so on. So this one is probably going to be a spicy one as well. So let's get reviewing with this beer. So just to remark on the labeling, it's a Halloween pumpkin label, and the back reads, which is the standard thing usually put on most Great Lakes Brewery beers. So I proceed to bring you the most flavorful and unique beers possible. It's sort of the catch line for them. We're proud to release this tasty autumn ale, handcrafted with an assortment of specialty malts and hops. We added a generous amount of pumpkin directly into the brew. Now, they said the exact same thing for the orange peel ale, replacing the word pumpkin with orange, I guess. Combine this with hints of cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, and allspice, and you've got a beer that you won't forget soon. Rich, satisfying, and slightly spicy. Our seasonal ale goes perfectly with a favourite dessert or traditional feast, but like fall, pumpkin ale comes but once a year. So, yeah, it's a seasonal, and I think it's still around in Ontario, but I'm not sure if I'm going to find this as we approach New Year's, I guess. So let's get reviewing the bottle. Let's open it up. First I have to remove this foil on top. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's just a generic black cap. And sometimes they even put a twist up. I think this time it's just going to be a standard cap. Yep. Using my trusty mononic glass from St. Ambrose from Customs. I think I used the same glass for all 3 Great Lakes beers. Too much head, I think, but kind of looks the same as the green tea ale. It's a pale amber kind of pretty clear body, but just a slightly hazy look to it. You could even say it's just golden. Some medium-sized bubbles rising. The head is nice and soapy. Some bubbles are quite large, some of them are quite small. I'd say it's very pretty much off-white, maybe a light tan coloured. Let's give it a sniff. Definitely smells like a good pumpkin beer. Not very intense, but you can definitely smell the spices in it. Thinking cinnamon for sure. Touch of ginger. Not very peppery though. They say they brew this with allspice. Well, maybe you're going to taste that, but I can't really smell it. Nice malts, the caramel kind of background, again typical. As far as the body, actually, it's a bit paler than I would, assume a pumpkin beer to be like. But nevertheless, let's give it a try. No, it's quite spicy. Up front you get the malts and the pumpkin. It's a sort of gentle vegetable kind of floral feel to it, and then the spices sort of come out. I think it's definitely a bit milder than even the St. Ambrose pumpkin ale and the Dogfish, but definitely has more of a crisp mouthfeel to it, and the finish is not very lingering, but you get some pumpkin and you also get, it's mostly that cinnamon kind of spice, cinnamon, maybe clove, nutmeg. Can't really taste the allspice all that much. I'd say light to medium body to it, nice lacing. From my experience, all the Great Lakes beers have really good lacing, pretty good head retention too. Starting to get more sweetness to it. Yeah, it's quite tasty. I'm serving this kind of cold, and it's been sitting out of the fridge for about 5 minutes now, but still it's a bit too cold, I think, so I'll come back to it once it's warmed up and I'll let you know what I think. Cheers. Alright, so I definitely did the right thing of letting this sit for a bit and warm up. Opened up quite a bit actually. Right away from the very first sip I could taste the pumpkin, but as it warms up you sort of get it all across your mouth, not just the back of the palate. It's very pronounced and I quite like that actually. As far as the spiciness goes, you still get a cinnamon, clove, bit of nutmeg, but you also started to get, I started to get a bit of a peppery note from the allspice, which I like, but it's very, very balanced. I like that. Because for instance, like the Dogfish pumpkin ale had, that's probably the most prominent, the most pronounced note was the allspice, spiciness kind of thing. A bit too much for me, I guess. So if I were to rate this right away when I just started the review, I'd probably get it like a 6 or 7. But I kind of like it kind of grew in me, and I like it more now than I did before. The only thing that's kind of, the Achilles heel for this beer is probably the drinkability. I had the whole bomber to myself. I mean, it's quite a bit, but still, for 5.5%, it could be more drinkable. Like it becomes a bit heavy on you. But you know what? It's very tasty. I've had 3 pumpkin beers. What do I know? But you know what? I still can say that this is a good example of the style. Definitely has all the aspects and all the, all the things you expect in a pumpkin beer, and it doesn't have any artificial taste or anything. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 actually, which puts me a bit of a, puts me in a crossroad. I have to mention the other 2 beers I've reviewed and probably rate them. So I'm going to give first place out of 3 places. So the gold medal goes to, I'd say St. Ambrose Pumpkin. That's a bit more to it than to this beer, which is still great. And then this one is going to take the 2nd place, and the bronze goes to Dogfish Pumpkin Ale, which is still a great beer. It's just a bit different. It's a stronger kind of version, more spicy. I guess I prefer this. and the St. Elvis definitely. So that's all I have to say about this beer. 8 out of 10 for Pumpkin Ale from Great Lakes Brewery, and all of their beers are pretty much at least worth a try, if not great, or just good. So yeah, if you're ever around Canada and you find this beer, give it a try. And yeah, that's it for this year's pumpkin beers for me. I'm glad I finally discovered this style, and next year I'll probably be looking forward to exploring and finding new beers from the style. So stick to the beer, guys, and that's all I have to say for this one. Cheers.